Okay, I have to redo this entire fucking intro because I don't know what happened, dude. I don't know what happened. I was recording, then my phone kind of flashed, and then when I looked at the footage, you couldn't even hear me. I think the sun is fucking up my phone. And it can't. I literally only have $180 left, and then I'm completely done paying off this phone. I don't want to pay it off, and then I have to get a whole new fucking phone. So I'm like, what the fuck happened? Okay, I think I fixed the problem. The universe does not want me to have a podcast. The universe does not. But I think I fixed it. I think. If this becomes another episode where I only have the audio, it'll be one of those. But if it's one of those where it's just a visual and you can't hear me, I'm gonna put a gun in my mouth. Like, I'm gonna kill myself. But anyway, what I was saying in the intro was that I wanted to take advantage to do this podcast episode because lately my job at the hotel has been calling me and telling me that I don't have to come in because of how slow it's been over there. Because as you guys may not know, here in Vegas, the tourism is shutting down a lot because of the way that the world is. You know, we're in one of the biggest recessions ever, and everything is just so fucking expensive. It's living is so impossible nowadays. So because the tourism is going down and I work as a housekeeper, that affects our job as well. So it's been so incredibly slow over there. But like how I always say, I'm very thankful about the fact that I do have a second job because I can always pick up shifts over there. But at the same time, I feel like I'm missing money because I make so much more over there. Like what I make over there in 2 weeks, I can make over here in 4 days. That's how much I make. So it's kind of like, I feel like it's a win-lose, but at the same time, it feels like a lose-lose, but I don't really know. What else was I saying in that? Oh, I was saying that, as you can see, because of the way that the sun is fucking up my phone right now, I parked right in front of my house, and it's in front of my neighbor, who, we are cool with the two neighbors who live there, but I think they have one of their parents that live there, and he's that typical nosy white old man where, as you guys can see from the background, there's no other houses. Once it hits my house, there's nothing else. It's just like a dead end. So whenever he sees movement around here, like that, bro, like clockwork, he opens his garage and he pretends that he's working on something, but he's just being fucking nosy. Because they're a white family, we are the only minorities at the end right here. So I can kind of see it, why he would act that way, but it's like, we've never given you a problem. Just like, chill out, dog, chill out, you know? But anyway, to start off this episode before my phone fucks up again, it's been a minute since I released another episode, mostly because I was gonna release me doing what I've been talking about. I can't even form a coherent sentence. I've been wanting to make that episode of Ethel Cain's Preacher's Daughter, you know, the story behind it, the way I relate to it and all of that. I did record it one day out here, but when I looked back at it and I was trying to edit it, you could tell that I really wasn't fully in it. When it comes to that album and just thematically wise, just the things it talks about, it's really hard for me to talk about and to articulate the things that I want to say, specifically in the way that I relate to it. It is a very heavy subject. So I think I need to sit with it just a little bit more before I fully dive into it, and I'm like okay with putting that out there. Because I had to scrap the entire thing. I was trying to edit it and I was like, I don't like this. And I always listen and trust my intuition. So the fact that it was telling me like, just say no, I just scrapped the entire thing. And because I feel like the last couple of episodes, they've been kind of a little bit on the more serious side. Kind of like with the whole, me talking about kind of like what the album is about. In the episode of that God of Fury ruined me, and then I did the whole dating scene, and the last episode of the dating wrapped, I was fucking yelling because I was getting so mad about having to relive these certain situations that I was in from a romantic aspect. So I kind of wanted to do something a little bit more fun, and I put this prompt out there for people just to ask me whatever they wanted to. I looked back at all the questions, and this is going to be a two-parter because the remainder of the questions that I was getting was almost like an advice column, and I want to be able to fully give you guys my advice and my full attention. So this first part is going to be a little bit more like, to a certain degree, silly, goofy, nothing too serious, and then the second part will be a little bit more about the advice column, because it seems like you guys always need advice, and I'm always down to give you guys whatever advice I can from the experiences that I do have in my life, hopefully in a way that it can help you. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into the episode. And I have everything on my tablet right here, so that's where we are gonna see it. So the first question that I got asked was which is something I do kind of get asked a lot by my friends and by people who have watched the episode of me talking about how I don't want to date, and that's, would you ever date again? With that, I really don't know how to answer that, because as of right now, I don't want to, and everybody knows that. As I've always said before in the other previous episodes, that my main focus this year was my therapy and my sobriety and me fixing myself and just putting me first before I put somebody else into the equation. And as of right now, I really am enjoying my life being single and being sober. I just hit 6 months, which was very exciting. And I've been single for about a year now, but I feel like now I fully am embracing like the singleness of me and not needing to find a connection or always have to be talking to somebody, even though if it doesn't go anywhere. I'm so content with myself and with my own company that I don't know, like just right now I don't want to be bothered by a man. I am protecting my peace so much right now that I don't want to bring a fuck ass man into the equation who's gonna ruin everything for me, essentially. I get that I know to a certain degree I shouldn't be so cynical about the entire thing, but at the same time, with certain experiences that I've been through, as you guys saw from the dating Wrapped, it did kind of send me into a spiral of cynicism. And it's like I really can't help it, but at the same time, when every connection I've had has kind of been the same, you do kind of become cynical after a while. I do want to get rid of that mindset though, because I know that not everybody is the same, but it kind of seems like it. And kind of like how I talked about in the previous episodes too, it's all about the energy that you put out there. So because I am putting such a cynical energy out there, obviously I'm gonna find men that are gonna piss me off, you know, because I'm not going into it with well intentions. And that's the whole thing, is my intentions going into the dating scene aren't clear, and they aren't good, because right now I'm unclear with myself. Do I want somebody? I don't know. Will I eventually end up with somebody? Again, I don't know. Maybe right now I am saying no, because like how I said, I am very content with myself and just with my own company, and I enjoy just being at peace and being alone. Maybe right now I don't want to date. Maybe in the future I'll find somebody, but as of right now I am not interested. I mean, that door will always be open, that maybe one day I will, but it all just depends, you know. But then at the same time, it's like, even though I said I want to get rid of that whole cynical mindset, because I have been single for so long, if I do get to that point, am I gonna have the same mindset? You know, am I gonna go into it with the cynical mindset? Is the cynicism gonna just completely devour me to where I can't even have a genuine connection, because I'm always gonna find like the negative aspect into someone, you know? But which is something that I have to unpack in therapy. But I think as of right now, I don't want to date. I know I don't. Whenever I do have a connection with somebody, because not to sound like that, but I do still get, you know, DMs and messages and all that, and I'll give somebody like the time of day, but I put the boundary out there where I'm like, I am emotionally unavailable. Like, I'm not dating this year at all. Like, I don't plan to, and I don't want to. And even then, when they kind of start to catch feelings and they kind of start to hint that they want to become something, maybe it's my avoidance side where like my flight just kicks in, dude, and I'm like, I don't want this. I'm like, I'm fucking leaving. I don't want any of this. So maybe one day, but as of right now, I don't want to. The next one is, how come you went sober? Any advice on anybody trying to do the same? So I did talk about this in one of the previous episodes, but in case you missed it, I was pretty much just using alcohol and other substances as a way to, or not really, well, back then was other substances. I have been clean now for 11 years, 10, no 10. No, now it's 11. I've been clean for 11 years off of drugs. I've been 6 months sober. I was using all of that, like drugs, alcohol, sex, and men, just to completely avoid my mental health, because I was so sure that if my life wasn't gonna end by my own hand, then either the drugs were or the alcohol was. Like, I was gonna put myself in a situation where my life could potentially end, and I was okay with that, which is why I was ignoring my mental health, because it was like, why try and fix myself when I'm so ready just to die, you know? Which I know sounds like really, really dark, but I'm just trying to be as transparent as I can be. And it was getting to the point where I was getting drunk almost every weekend of every day. Like my off days would start on Thursday, and then it was Thursday, Friday. We would drink those days. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm telling you, the universe does not want me to have a podcast. It is so hot that my phone started to overheat, and then it just completely cut out what I was recording. So if it does look dark, it's because I had to put my sun visors up. We're gonna do with what we can. The podcast will soon be in my room. I finally got the art. I just have to get paid so I could get the microphone, because it'll be so much easier, I swear. But as I was saying, yeah, pretty much I would drink for like 4 days straight, and then I would just pretty much be playing like a catch-up game on my day off. I would sleep as much as I can so I can, like, in a way, recover and recuperate, and then that same day we would start drinking again. So I was just drinking nonstop just to pretty much ignore my mental health, and just it was just such a self-destructive behavior, and it was spiraling really bad, out of control. And that's the thing with me, is that as self-aware as I can be, I am also very, he opened his garage. But thank God I have this, so he can't even see me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, as self-aware as I can be, I am also very self-destructive. So I always let it get to the point where I guess my intuition always tells me, like, something always tells me, like, okay, you're kind of pushing it a little too far, and then that's when I go back and I can, like, fix everything. And this time but for some reason this time I was thinking to myself, like, where is that limit gonna stop? You know, there was a lot of thoughts in my head coming in where, like, I was gonna die this year if I didn't stop drinking, or, you know, some really bad that too, but some really bad health problems were going to happen. I don't know what word I was trying to use, but just something drastic in my health was gonna happen, and then I wouldn't have been able to go back from that. So I knew that I had to get sober, and it was extremely difficult. I should have been 7 months now, but like how I talked about before, at the beginning of this year I did fuck it up, but, you know, we bounced back and we're fine. And for any advice that's trying to do the same, the best advice I could give you is that do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you're like, I'm gonna get sober for this amount of time and then go back to drinking, because then you're gonna be putting your body, like, up and down, and that's even worse. Do it because you know that you want to change, and do it because you know it's something that you have to do. This is something that you want to do wholeheartedly because you genuinely want to change. You don't want to be this type of person anymore. Do it for the right reasons. And on top of that, also surround yourself with a very supportive group. All of my friends, even though they do drink around me, I let it happen because I told them, I don't want to become that sober person that you can't still have fun with. Yes, I'm not going to be the one drinking, but this is my journey to take and not yours. If you want to drink, you can, but I'm not going to. You know, I didn't want to become that sober person, because I've met people like that where, because they're sober, everybody around them has to, because they can potentially fall, which I get, and it is valid, but at the same time, this is your journey, not theirs. Others, too, in a way, shouldn't have to suffer because of you. And it's all about you needing to learn that self-control. You cannot be coddled your entire life or be that type of person and just expect everything to go your way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I just, maybe it's the mindset that I have always had, that if I'm gonna do it, it's because of me, and I'm not gonna bring anybody else down with me or force anybody else to do it. Yes, I do have very loving friends that at times when we are hanging out, they won't drink because they don't want to, and me being sober kind of helps them, because they're like, well, I want to take like a little break, and being with you, I know I don't have to drink, you know, like, I know that I can still have a good time without doing that. But I feel like putting yourself in a very supportive group is what really helped me a lot, because there were so many times where I just wanted to relapse and tell my friends, like, fuck it, I want to drink, and they would be like, you're not drinking anything, and they would do what they can to, like, make me feel better and to make sure that I wouldn't drink anymore. So that's one thing too, is that to make sure you always have a very supportive group around you, because those people can really make a difference in your sobriety, not only not only with alcohol, but it could be with drugs too, or whatever else you may be going through. As strong of a person that I am, you also do need that help, and that's what you need to be okay with admitting to yourself, is that you do need help, and you could tell, you know, your village that, and then they can help you along the way. Sorry if that came off like really choppy. I just I'm really bad at explaining myself, so yeah, if that came off choppy, I'm really sorry, but hopefully my point got across. Oh yeah, then I got this one too. Do you think you would ever drink again? I don't think I ever will, because something I had to admit to myself is that I am an addict in general. I was a drug addict, I was an alcoholic, I was all of that. So because I do already have, I guess you could call it like that, alcohol, like that, not alcohol, the word just escaped my head. Because I do have that addictive trait in me already, I know that if I drink just at least one sip, it's not going to be one, it's going to go downhill. And that's one thing that I don't want to do. I don't want to have made all the progress that I have made and then completely fuck it up because, oh, I just wanted to cave in, you know, like what? And who knows if in that moment, like, I end up getting way too drunk, and this time I do get pulled over, or this time I do cause an accident. You know, you never really know what could happen. So I don't think I'll ever drink again. It's too much of a risk for me to go back into it, because I can't just have one. You still think about your ex? I don't think about him at all. I only ever hear about him because there's, within the gay community here in Vegas, a lot of people know who he is, and they knew that we dated. So the last thing I heard from him was that one of my friends was at, it's here in Vegas at the, I believe it's at the Luxor. They have a thing called like Temptation Sundays, which is like a whole gay pool party. And they saw him there, and they were like, yo, I saw your ex. I'm like, oh, word? Like, okay. And I was like, well, like what? I was like, does he look good? Like, is he good? And he was like, no, he looks like shit. And I was like, oh, okay, T. And then he told me how my ex was trying to get his friend's attention, and that his friend turned around and was like, I know my worth. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, hey, to each their own, you know. But no, I don't think about him at all. I think I probably thought about him like when everything first started, because yeah, you know, it hurt to have to go through all of that, and to have to lose somebody that I did really truly genuinely love, but they were just too unhealed and too fucking stupid to realize that. But then that's also what kind of grounded me back into reality, where it's like, there's no point in me almost grieving the loss of this when you just don't give a shit, you know. So no, I don't think about him. I mean, I feel bad for everything that went down and for the way that his life kind of went to shit afterwards, but it's like, you kind of asked for it, you know. Like, I don't really know what else to tell you. But no, I don't think about his stupid ass. What's the biggest ick a man can give you? Oh man, I think just being in the dating scene, somebody that doesn't know how to take accountability. Like when they know that they are doing something and you call them out for it, and then they kind of want to do like that reverse psychology shit and say that you're the toxic one and that you're gaslighting them and blah blah. That's the thing that pisses me off the most, is the fact that terrible men learned the language of therapy and then weaponized it. And it's like, obviously because I know psychology to a certain degree, I know what that person is doing, and it's like, bitch, you can't do that to me. I'm like, you try this with everybody else, but the minute you meet me, oh, you're gonna fucking hate me. Because I can see through that bullshit from the jump, you know? So it's just that, somebody who doesn't know how to take accountability, somebody who doesn't know how to communicate properly. Because the thing is that I do get it, that we can get caught up in our everyday lives with work, and, you know, we all have our own social lives outside of our friendships or relationships, whatever it may be. But there was somebody that I was talking to where it was okay for him to kind of like, to a certain degree, kind of like ghost me in a way, where, because I knew he was on vacation. So I was like, oh, you know, you don't have to worry about texting me, and I communicated that with him. But when I'm out with my friends, he's always like, oh, like, you were distant, you were communicating with me. And with me, it seemed like there was always a fucking problem, and I'm like, why is it cool for you to do it but not me? And that's another one too, when somebody has that mindset of like, why is it like, it's okay for me to do it but not you? There's so many icks that a man can give me, which is why, like, I say I don't want to date, because everything to me, honestly, is a fucking ick. You could do one thing to piss me off and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. If it feels wrong to me, if it makes me uncomfortable, if it makes me question you, I'm out. And I know that's also part of like the whole cynicism shit, which I know like you really shouldn't be that way, but that's the reason why I'm not dating too, because that's how deep I am into it, where I'm like, just one thing, give me one fucking reason and I'll leave you. Just give me one reason, you know. But there's a lot of icks though. There's a lot, you know. I think one of the most important ones for me was also like the whole stand, like where you stand politically. Because not to bring up my ex, but he was somebody that I kind of lowered my standards a little bit, and there were certain things that he believed in that I was not okay with, and he became that type of person that would just say it just to get a razz out of me, which your partner should never do that to you. So that's why now I'm just like, no, if there's one thing that you don't believe in, which more specifically, I don't fucking understand it. But some people are like, oh, it's because it's the whole non-binary thing. And I'm like, fucking educate yourself. Like, read a fucking book. If only you guys knew that there were so many indigenous cultures that didn't adhere to a gender binary prior to being colonized, you would understand this. There was a lot of native cultures that believed in two-spirit or free spirit, which was essentially non-binary. So I'm like, if you would just educate yourself, bro. Like, and it's that too. See, because that could be another ick, like somebody who's just like so uneducated, but you're talking you're talking out of your ass. Not to sound that way, because I feel like at times I could come off like todo creído or whatever, but it's like I'm fooling myself. But I know what I'm talking about, and I'm educated in these things, which is why I am so strong in my convictions. So when I meet somebody who is the opposite and they're just speaking out of their ass, yeah, I'm gonna fucking call you out, you know. But there's a lot of icks, honestly. Are you talking to anyone? Like how I said, I always get messages and whatnot, so to a certain degree, to a certain extent, yes, I'm talking to people, but like how I said, I put that boundary out there where I'm like, this is just gonna be us talking. That's it. Like, yeah, we could go on dates, we could be, you know, friends who kiss, you know. But other than that, I'm not. No, just no. Just no. Do you believe in second chances? I feel like when it comes to this could all just depend on the situation that you are in, or what that person did, or yeah, it just depends on the situation. Because I do believe in second chances, but like I'm saying, it depends on the situation of pretty much just everything that had happened, you know. So I'll give you two examples to kind of like let you know what I'm trying to like say. So these are two friends that I had. One of them I no longer speak to, so that's how you could know I didn't give that person a second chance. This one person, and I think she watches one of my podcasts, so if she listens to this, sorry. Sorry, but not sorry. I had a friend where after a while she was becoming, not to get so much into like the story of it all, but she was becoming a little bit, I guess you could say the word abusive, but in the form of, she never really had any money, but she always wanted to hang out. So I always kind of had to pay for it. And she knew I was okay with that, because I'm okay with paying for people sometimes, not all the time. And with her, it was getting to the point where she was being abusive in that aspect of like, she wanted to go out and she wanted to hang out with me. And because she is my friend and I wanted to be around her, I kind of let it happen. But that was because I didn't really set a boundary. And because I sucked at setting boundaries during that time. And I had to have that conversation with her where it's like, me and that one friend, because we were all friends, but we both don't speak to that one other person. We had that conversation with her where it's like, this needs to stop or we're not going to hang out anymore. Because I get it. Times are tough. Yes, me and my friend were still in housekeeping and we make money, but it's like, that doesn't automatically mean that we have to pay for you every single time. And the thing that bothered us the most was that she was that type of person where she knew she didn't have any money, but she would still hit us up and try and make plans. And right when we accommodated everybody, that's when she would be like, oh, but I don't have any money. And I would be like, then why are you making plans? Or when we were already where we were supposed to be, that's when she would say it, which would put us in such an awkward that would put us in such an awkward situation of where, you know, obviously if we're going out to eat, we're not just going to let you watch us eat. Somebody's going to have to pay for you. So we had to have that conversation with her, and I have to have that boundary with her now where it's like, you can only hit me up to hang out if you have money. Because now, to an extent, that trust is broken. And because you are my friend, and because I genuinely love you and I care for you, and I do want to see you, I want to hang out with you, But because like how I said that trust is broken, I can only hang out with you if you have money. Don't make plans with me if you don't. So I gave her that second chance, and me and her hang out every now and then. But that's where I was okay with the second chance, because that boundary was put and it was never crossed again. With the other person, the reason why we stopped speaking to her, there was a lot of factors that went into it. But again, I'm not gonna go completely into detail about it. But one of the things that happened with her was that she was that type of person where her entire attitude was, it's okay for me to do it, but not you. Specifically when it came to validating somebody's feelings. She was somebody that was always very, very insecure. She was never content with herself because she was on the bigger side. I never saw her that way. I saw her as my friend, but she was too unhealed to realize that. So if we were all joking around with each other, if something was said and she could take it out of context to have it be about her body, she would immediately be like, oh, you guys invalidate my feelings, and you guys are like pieces of shit towards me, quién sabe qué. But yeah, when I told her multiple times that I am that type of gay where that F slur, I don't fuck with that. I don't like it. I don't use it. Don't use it towards me. And that's my biggest boundary, is do not use it towards me, because that shit will piss me off, and if you do it purposefully, you will lose me forever. I told her that time and time again because she would always use it to me. And that would be like, somebody can't invalidate your feelings because then you start to act all fucking dramatic, but then the minute you do it to me, you think it's okay. And I genuinely don't understand the fixation that straight people have needing to use this fucking word. To a certain extent, I get it why the gays use it, but even then I don't like it. But for a straight person to be calling me that, chill out. You know what I mean? So I had to tell her that multiple times. I like, stop calling me that. And one time that I told her, we were on our way to California, I told her, I was like, all right, you're kind of crossing the line a little bit. And she kind of side-eyed me and she was like, okay. And she said it again, and I was like, I just told you to stop calling me that, and then you're like, okay. Like, are you fucking kidding me? So, but there's a lot of but there's a lot of reasons with her as to why we stopped talking to her. So that's one of the situations that I can give you, that it got to the point where I was like, you don't need a second chance because I gave you too many chances. And when it came specifically to this, you consistently invalidated me and called me this word that I told you I don't like being called, and you blatantly showed me that you didn't give a shit. So like so with these two situations, that's what I mean of, it just depends on the situation, like how it all is. I do believe in second chances, but it also just depends, you know. And then the best advice I could give any of you is just trust your intuition. If it's a friend where, you know, like my other friend where I was able to put that boundary and now we're okay, then okay, I could see that. But if it's like this other person where like you consistently have to tell them something and they're consistently hurting you, I don't think a second chance is in their favor, you know. It's just something that you kind of have to like think about. Has there been a connection you regret letting go? There is, I won't lie. This is probably back in like 2022. It was this one guy. I remember his name. I won't say his name, but he was a Virgo. And he was the sweetest guy ever. He was so sweet. And he was so cool too. Like, that's when I was working at my first hotel, and like on my way to work, me and him would talk to each other every day on the phone in the morning as we were on our way to work. And he knew how to banter, and he was so funny. He could keep up with me, and he was a delight, dude. Like, I loved being around him. It was my own fault, I will admit, because that's again when I was like really deep, like in my drinking, and then my perreo phase, and then my phase of like, fuck man, get money, you know. Like, I didn't give a fuck about anybody. And me and him had went on a date, and he because of my own unhealed internalized trauma, he had said something that kind of triggered that, where we were in the car and he was like, I know you deal with depression and anxiety, and I want to be that person that's always going to be there for you, and that's really truly going to help you out with it. Like, I want to be there for you in ways that nobody else has. And with him, you could tell he was very genuine about it, and that's what fucking scared me, because I've never had that. So I completely ended it with him, and I was like, I can't do this. And yeah, almost 3-4 years ago I lost him, and at times I think about him, because at times he comes into my head and I'm like, would I have been like in a very healthy, happy relationship, you know? Would he have been the one to like truly save me? But at the same time, now that I'm a little bit older and I'm, you know, to a certain degree healed and I'm in therapy and all that and I'm sober, I sometimes think like, but how fair would it have been on me to completely put my entire burdens on him, even though he was willing to, and I get that, but it wouldn't have been fair on my part to be like, well then here's all of my baggage, fuck you, you know? But I do think about him a lot. He was really sweet, and I fucked it up. And I fucked it up. But other than that, no. I've dropped guys and I'm like, whatever, go fuck yourself. Die for all I care, you know? Do you regret any of your relationships? Truth be told, I don't. Because I feel like if I wouldn't have gone through these specific situations or scenarios with my exes, I wouldn't have came out to be who I am, you know? I wouldn't have learned what I can tolerate, what crosses my boundaries, what I consider disrespect, where my standards are being compromised, where I'm being compromised as a person as a whole. So no, I don't regret any of them. I feel like they help me learn a lot about myself and the things that I'm okay with, the things that I'll tolerate, the things that I won't. So no, I don't regret any of them. I see all of them like as a silver lining where I may have fucked up, they may have fucked up, it may have been a mutual fuck up, but at least we can come out of this. I can come out of this knowing that there's a silver lining, that whatever happened, I will learn from and I will never do again. So that's the way that I have always seen it, like as a learning lesson, where it's like, what is this teaching me, and what is it really teaching me that I can learn from? Now, and that's the whole thing, where it's like, not only is this situation teaching you something, what is it that you are willing to learn? And at times it could be something about yourself, something that you have to admit to yourself, something, a character flaw that you have to get rid of. You know, we are forever evolving, we are forever learning and then unlearning and relearning. You know, we're forever evolving. So for me, it'll always be that, where it's like, what have I learned about myself, and how can I change whatever, if it has something to do with me or whatever it may be, how can I change that? You know, like what's the silver lining? So no, I don't regret any of them. What's a non-sexual turn off for you? For me specifically, it is somebody who is very educated, somebody that just has like intelligence, like whether it be like emotionally intelligent, they're intelligent in a way that like we could talk about books or about like movies or whatnot, like whatever it may be, like literature or whatever. That's what turns me on, which is why, not to bring this man up again, but if you guys remember the Cholo Daddy, what really, and I think I talked about this in that podcast episode, was what really caught my attention. And sorry, I didn't mean to pick my nose, but my allergies are killing me. Anyway, with the Cholo Daddy, what really caught my attention with him was the day that we went to go see that movie Heretic. And like how I talked about in that episode, was that he was the first man that I was able to have a full intellectual conversation about religion and the way that he saw it portrayed in that movie. You know, he was giving his own experiences. And then what really did it for me was pulling out the special interest of how it relates to Dante's Inferno, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. And I was like, how do you expect me not to fall in love? You know what I mean? Like, Dante's Inferno, it is such a niche, specific interest, and for him to be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and he was able to, in his own way, kind of relate to what I was talking about, how I related it, how the movie was related to Dante's Inferno. And it was just, that's what I love, is somebody who is intelligent. There hasn't really been anybody that I'm able to have a conversation with like that. You know, not a lot of people grew up in a religious household. You know, not a lot of people have religious trauma the way that I do. So for me to meet somebody who knew exactly what I was talking about, yeah, it was cool. So I would say that somebody that I can have conversations with like that go below the surface level, that's what I really liked. I know you posted about being pro-choice, but how do you feel when somebody uses it as another form of contraceptive? Damn. I have been asked this by my own mom, because we were talking about that, because she sees the shirts that I wear from Change, that I do have some that talk about, you know, being pro-choice, or I have one that says like against abortion, have a vasectomy. I have one that on the back of the shirt, it's a uterus that's flipping you off. And what I told her was that even though yes, I do see the wrong in it, that you are making a conscious effort to be reckless and to use it as another form of contraceptive, I also can't judge, because I have also been reckless with my own health, specifically within the gay community. And this is a very touchy subject, so if I trigger anybody, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to be transparent. The biggest thing in the gay community is that a lot of the guys are positive, if you know what I'm talking about. I have been reckless with my own health, specifically in the time when I was very unhealed, that a man could just tell me that he was undetected when I'd be like, then let's raw dog it. You're clean, obviously. And I know that the LGBT hospital or center here in Vegas, not only do they give you the free HIV testing, but then they also give you a pamphlet that shows you that if you think you may have gotten, if you feel like you were contracted with it, I don't think that's the right word, I can't think of the word, but if you feel like it got into your system, they have a pill or I think a shot that you could take, that within the first 48 hours you could go and get the shot, and it'll clean you out. So to a certain degree, I have abused that in a way, because it's really not the same thing. Where it's like with contraceptive, I get where people say you could be ending the life, but then at the same time, I am being alive and being reckless with my own life. So that's why I really can't begin to judge anybody that is doing that, because I have been reckless with my own resources. All I could really truly say is that if anybody is doing that, just try and be as safe as you possibly can. Just try to sit down and just really try to be more self-aware, because I don't hook up anymore. And even then, I have made it a point that, because this may be problematic or whatever, but my boundary now is that I don't hook up with anybody that has that, because I have put myself in so many situations where I could have potentially gotten it, and the men that I have hooked up with that had it could give two shits about me. So I don't put myself in those situations anymore. But if you are somebody that is using it as a form of contraceptive, or if you've done what I have done, I would say just try and be a little bit more careful. Just try to like really sit down with your feelings and be like, you know, just try and just be more careful. That's all I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say, because this is a very touchy subject, and I get that and I understand that. That's why I'm trying to like tiptoe around it. But all I can really tell you is just try and be more careful. I know that in that moment we can be reckless, but just do what you can, you know. But moving on, do you ever think about becoming a JW again? Why was that so hard for me to read? Do you ever think about becoming a JW again? I mean, it crosses my mind from time to time, because I was raised in the religion. I never knew anything else but that. But as of right now, because I am finding ways to accept myself for being queer and accept myself for just being who I am, as of right now, I don't want any form of religion. As of right now, I have very negative views about it because of the way that I was raised. And I mostly see it more as like as a ball and chain and as a form of indoctrination. So as of right now, I don't. But I've had this conversation with my siblings of, if and when I ever choose to come back to it, I would move states. Because I have always wanted to move out. If I ever wanted to restart my life, whether it be going back to the religion or just restarting my life, I always wanted to move somewhere else and just completely start over. So that's what I would do with this. If I were ever to go back into the religion, I would move out of state, go somewhere else and restart there. Because it was a conversation that I had with my siblings, where if I do ever go back to it, my boundary would be that my parents wouldn't be allowed in my life during those times, because I know how they are. The times that I've had come back, and I think I've talked about this before, the times that I have come back, because my dad was always more of a dictator when it came to it, it had to be his way every single time. Even if I wasn't ready, he didn't give a fuck. It had to go his way. And that's what I don't want to deal with. I am mature enough, I guess you could say, to admit to the fact that my mental health when it comes to religion and to my parents is extremely fragile. So I know for a fact that if they tell me just one thing, I'm gonna lose it. And I'm not gonna care anymore. I'm gonna just lose all motivation and be like, yeah, fuck this. So because I want to do it wholeheartedly, and I want it to come from my heart, because I want to serve God and I want to live that godly life, that Christian life or whatever, I don't want anybody telling me anything. because then now I'll be like, yeah, I'm out. So that's why I would rather just move somewhere else where I don't know anybody and completely start over, you know, like a whole rebrand. But as of right now, no, I don't want to. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? So kind of piggybacking off of that, where I always thought about was Seattle. There is something about this. It's Seattle, Portland, or Salem. And if those don't work out, it's Switzerland, which I know is so weird to throw that one out. But I have seen Facebook videos of Switzerland and it is so beautiful. I want to commit suicide there. sorry. But, sorry. But I want to live in Seattle so bad. I love the whole grunge scene of it. I love the city life of it. The fact that everybody's hipsters, I'm like, oh, I'm with my people, you know. But I would love to live in Seattle. It is very expensive over there. I looked up an apartment for the same size as over here in Vegas. Now they're like 1,800. I think over there is like 28K or some shit. It's expensive as fuck over there. But one day. How did you decenter yourself from men? That's a really good question. I think it was just me going through, because before I went to therapy, I did my own healing journey, and I read a book. I think it was called like the 7 stages of getting rid of your anxiety or some shit like that. I really can't remember because I read it back in 2022, and it was just me pretty much just admitting to the fact that I was using men and everything else that I said too as a way to cope and to ignore my mental health. Because now that I am avoidant, I have that typical storyline of like, I was very anxiously attached. Then when I healed, you know, because I'm healing and I healed from certain things, I became avoidant. You know, like the real side of me came out because I realized that. I think I talked about this in the dating wrapped episode where I realized that when I was using these men, not only was it to ignore my mental health, but it was pretty much to like project all of my unhealed traumas. It was that typical story of like, I didn't really get the love that I needed growing up, so I was gonna project all of that onto somebody else, where it's like, I'm gonna be overbearing pretty much. I'm gonna love bomb you, and I'm gonna want to give you my entire fucking soul in the entire world, you know. And men did center around my life a lot because of that, the way that I was raised. If a man would give me just like an ounce of attention, I would be like, that's my baby's father. That's the man I'm gonna fall in love with. And it was like such bare minimum, if even that attention, or just bare minimum anything, and I would be like, I love him. I'm gonna marry him. You know what I mean? So being able to realize that I was doing that helped me to decenter men. And then also just the experiences that I had with men, the way that they could be very abusive, and not only the physical form, but because I've always worked 2 jobs, they can be abusive with your finances, or just almost pretty much just becoming sentient. I realized how men were, and me starting that self-love journey, and me loving myself finally, and realizing that I don't need to be with a man. That's what helped me so much to decenter man, which is why now I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to be with you. I look at a man and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, because it could be the hottest guy ever, and then he opens his fucking gob, and I'm like, I'm gonna shoot you. I'm like, I have a gun in my bag. I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out. Like, I no longer have, and I think I've talked about this before too, where it's like, I no longer have the mental capacity or the energy or the fucking patience to deal with another man. You say one thing to me, I'm ripping your fucking teeth out. I'm grabbing a pair of pliers and I'm ripping each tooth out individually, and I'm shoving them up your ass. Like, I don't want to be bothered anymore. So there was a lot that helped me decenter men. And then obviously the girl that I'm obsessed with and that I'm in love with, Drew Afualo, seeing how she was and the things that she was saying and just how men are in general, I was like, you're so right, dude. And I know a lot of people can kind of see it as contradictory because I am a man, but it's like, that's why I'm able to say it, because I used to be that man too. Trust me, I was a fuckboy. I was a piece of shit too. I was not always this way. You know what I mean? Like, I was a raging sack of shit before. So it's just, I actually did what I needed to do to evolve into, again, what I talked about. You learn certain things, you relearn, and then you unlearn, and it's just like the whole process. So it's a lot that helped me to decenter, man. And it was just that, just like becoming sentient and just realizing like you really have nothing to offer. And dick maybe, but even then, some of you guys don't even know what the fuck you are doing. You think that just because you're like 9 inches that you actually know what you are doing. Hey, you are hurting me. You are not hitting it right. So it's just like you're not even good for that. So like, what the fuck are you good for? You know? So it's just that, like, it's your frontal lobe developing and you becoming sentient and realizing like you really are worth nothing. Like, why do I want you in my life? You know? And then on top of that too, like what I said, the whole self-love journey of me accepting myself and loving myself and being okay within my own company is like, I don't want to bring a fucking imbecile around me to ruin my peace. Because the minute that a man ruins my peace, I am committing murder. I am committing genocide, bro. Your bloodline ends here. I'm fucking killing you. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what helped me. What are the biggest lessons you had to face while healing? I feel like nobody talks about this a lot, but it's just the biggest part of healing is you taking accountability for your own actions. Is you metaphorically or realistically, whatever helps you out, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, what is it about me that I need to change, or that I need to admit to myself? Where is it in my relationships where maybe I was the narcissistic one, or I was the toxic one, I was the abusive one, I was this or whatever. It's just a lot having to you sitting back with your feelings and having to self-reflect and taking accountability for your own actions, because it takes two to tango. Yes, there are certain situations where it could be it could be your significant other all the way, but the majority of times, if not, it takes two. So like you know you did something to fuck something up, you know. So that was the biggest lesson for me too, because I was so unhealed in the way that I was raised. I saw myself too much as a victim, so I did have like that victim mindset, and I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just that you have to. And I was that type of person too, where it was like it was okay for me to do it, but not you. Where it was like it was okay for me to be unhealed, for me to be a piece of shit, but the minute that you were, that was a problem. And sometimes I look back at the way that I used to be, and I was like, fuck, dude, I was such a piece of shit, but I was so unhealed. And that's pretty much what it was. And it was me having to take accountability. And if that person will hear you out, to apologize and be like, I didn't realize that I was doing this, and now I know. And if I hurt you in any way, I am truly sorry. So it's just all about that. The biggest lesson of like, where is it that I fucked up so I could change and so I won't do it again, you know? Because that's what a lot of people fail to do when it comes to the healing process, is that they'll have that victim mindset. They'll be like, well, it was all them, like I did nothing. And then when you kind of hear their story, it's like you kind of see where they did, and it's like, okay, come on, like I get that you're not fully self-aware, but come on, you know you did something, you know. Okay, last one. Oh, well, the last one was just somebody saying like, I want to be friends in real life. We've been mutuals for years. Hit me up. I know the way I am can be very, very intimidating. Even some men that I have met when we went on dates, you know, like as friends, like how I've been saying. Some guy even told me, he was like, I was afraid to meet you because of the way that you talk about men. And I was like, period. As you should. Because then you know better than to fuck with me, you know. But hit me up, dude. Hit me up. We can be friends. I'm very open. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me, team. That was really good. I like that. That was fun. The next episode will be a lot more advice, because that's what I was getting a lot. But I like doing these, like the whole question things. Sometimes having to come up with prompts or having to speak about certain things is hard for me, because I'm like, I could yap for days, but it's like at the same time, what am I gonna say that is of substance? And the majority of the time, it's not. It's fucking nonsense every single time. But yeah, you guys, not to end this quickly, but it is hot as fuck in this car. And yeah, don't forget to follow me on my socials. I only have Instagram and TikTok. And I will catch you guys all in the next episode. Deuces.